I think, I randomly walked into chapters and saw you and Soraya presenting your other book on motherhood,
Mhm.
and it was just a random moment, and I just happened to be there and be able to sit down for a minute with my kids running around in the background and, listen to you share what you had put into that book, and I was just inspired by it. And, we connected briefly after you did your talk, and it just resonated with me, everything you had said. And then I started following you both on social media, and I saw the opportunity come up for Be Light to Raise Light, and it just spoke to me.
Hello, everyone. What an awesome episode I've been having here today with so many beautiful moms and amazing authors of Be Light to Raise Light. Today, we have the honor of sitting with a woman whose journey is both heart wrenching and deeply inspiring. I have today Jaime Tarallo's story that reminds us of the incredible strength that rises from trauma and the way motherhood reshapes us in ways we could never imagine. So, from navigating the depths of birth, trauma, and postpartum struggles to reclaiming her voice, her power, and her purpose as a postpartum doula, Jaime embodies resilience, love, and the courage to turn her pain into light for others. So today, I open the space for her story, her truth, and the wisdom she brings to mothers everywhere. Welcome, Jaime. Thank you so much for being here. So excited to talk to you. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Nishma. I'm happy to be here and share my story. So.
Yeah, we're really excited. Your story really resonated with a lot of us, especially me, myself, as a mom. And having you here today talking to you is like a dream come true because your story is truly beautiful in all its ways. So before I even start, I just wanted to ask you one really big question, and it's this. Why be light to raise light? What inspired you and why are you here?
I think, I randomly walked into chapters and saw you and Soraya presenting your other book on motherhood,
Mhm.
and it was just a random moment, and I just happened to be there and be able to sit down for a minute with my kids running around in the background and, listen to you share what you had put into that book, and I was just inspired by it. And, we connected briefly after you did your talk, and it just resonated with me, everything you had said. And then I started following you both on social media, and I saw the opportunity come up for Be Light to Raise Light, and it just spoke to me. And I've always been someone who likes to write, and envisioned myself writing a book in the future. So it was like it was meant to be that it spoke to me. And
Yeah, yeah, exactly. When we met you the first time, it was like this click of energy, wasn't it? We got to see your kids too as well, which was kind of cool. And then I got to see who you were as a mom running around with them, and I'm like, that was me. That was
yeah,
me at that point. I remember, yeah, the chaos that we're all going through as a mom, right? And yet it's so beautifully orchestrated. I don't even know how to say it. Like just the way that
yeah.
it just done is just it's so beautiful and it's all its divine purposes. So really nice to have you here. Um, the beginning. Let's start from the beginning here. It goes. You've shared that you always knew you wanted to be a mother in your story, and I love lots of it. So instead of telling the world about your story right now, can you take us back to that younger version of you the girl playing with dolls, and tell us what motherhood meant to you long before it became your reality.
I think I just, I saw my mom. Um, she always put us first. She never worked full time. She always was just there. And, my grandmother as well, my mom's mom, she had a hard life, but she was always just there as a mother and, as a grandmother as well. And I just always knew that's what I wanted. I didn't have like this standout dream of something else I wanted to be or do. It was just, I knew I wanted to have babies and to get married and have that fairy tale and, just have babies.
Yeah.
And, I remembered playing with dolls and, you know, acting out those little scenarios and the instincts were just there. From a young age. I just knew I wanted to be a mother.
Yeah, it's just like you've come here for a purpose, and your purpose is exactly what you're just doing. It's right
Yeah.
now, it's being that mom. No matter what you've gone through, what trauma you've gone through, every little experience is just that you wanted to be a mom. And now
Yeah.
you're just going through those lessons in your life as a mom. And your kids teach you so much, don't they?
Oh, yeah. They definitely teach me a lot on a daily basis. And, I have to often stop and pause and just remember how fast life goes. And even on the hardest days, that, these moments are fleeting and it goes by so fast. So,
Yeah, they were just born, and today, how old are they?
my son will be 6 at the end of December, and my daughter is 3.5. So,
See, yeah, they go by very quickly.
uh,
So let's talk a little bit about your trauma into transformation. I think that's really important. You walk through one of the most traumatic experiences as a woman can have, the birth of your son, of course. So what was the moment, if you can remember, where you realized that this wasn't just about survival anymore? What about, but it was more about finding the strength in the midst of your trauma. So what was the survival point on that?
I don't know. I mean, I remember feeling very lost for a long time. I don't know if there was like a certain defining moment. I knew that I was struggling after the traumatic birth of my son, and I knew that I needed help. I think some women aren't, or some people in general just aren't able to realize that, but I very much knew I was not in a good place. And, I was lucky, as I mentioned in my story, to have a very supportive care team, a very supportive GP, a very supportive obstetrician who, saw right away that I needed help. I found a birth trauma counseling. I found the postpartum support group, Pacific Postpartum. And, I think it was a combination of things, but I think it was connecting with those other moms in my group who had been through whatever they had been through, whether it was a traumatic birth, whether it was just struggling as a mother, was whether it was, a loss or whatever they had been through. And I think hearing their stories is what allowed me to heal and ultimately making the decision that I would take my experience, move forward with it, and try for that vaginal birth with my daughter.
Mhm.
Because for me, a lot of the trauma was the fact that I had to have an emergency C-section because to me, that was a failure. But it was like my body giving up on me that I had to, that my birth resulted in a cesarean.
Mhm. Yeah, so a lot of moms go through that. They
Yeah,
feel the why did this happen to me, or
yeah,
what the reason is and stuff. And I love that your story brings that out. Sometimes we forget that these are just things that just happen for a reason. I had my second one was C-section as well.
yeah.
And I always wanted a regular birth. My first was regular birth, but then after having the C-section, I realized how much a regular birth is better than having C-section because of
Mhm.
the stuff that you go through. But I love your story. I love that you went through that part of your life and the struggle and the survival that you are in today. This is a big opportunity to show the transformation you are in today, no matter what stage or what you went through to get to where you are today. So I really loved every part of that. And it really shows how strong a mom can be when they're going through that in their life.
Yeah,
It's
and I
so
think it's
beautiful.
important, I've learned, you know, I feel like it in a way it was meant to happen to me because it led me to the place where I am and it led me through a journey that was hard. And I've realized, even though it wasn't what I wanted, we all have to go through experiences in life to learn from them and grow from them. And, some women are only ever going to be able to have C-sections. And, I can sympathize with that feeling of loss of giving birth if that's what you want, like of I mean, a C-section is still birthing your baby, but it's not the natural way our bodies are designed to give birth. So there's for a lot of us, or no, I would say for most women, feeling that loss of giving birth vaginally is a very real feeling.
Here's a question though for you, a very quick one, very easy. Nobody knows what's going to happen to you when you get pregnant or how you're going to actually deliver. And what is this like? How would you recommend others that are going through this, not realizing that they could have a regular birth or they could have a C-section? They don't really have a choice. Like sometimes it can go the way that they don't want it to go. What would your advice be to someone like that?
Um, for me, somebody said to me after I had my son and I was, in my early days of just bawling at everything.
Mm-hmm.
They said there's two things you can't control in life, and that's birth and death. And, we don't know why some women can't get pregnant, why some women can get pregnant at the snap of a finger, why some women have losses, early and some have losses, in their second trimesters, and why some babies are born stillbirth. We don't know. And the only thing I think we can do is give over to our faith and know that there is a reason that things happen the way they do. And we have to trust that why those things happen, that there is a journey that we are on and we have only so little control over it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we are given what we can handle. And I think that we have to just trust that we can really truly come back from those moments that are difficult in our lives.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. That's so true. And I love that you said that we cannot control two things in our life, which is a birth and our death. Those are the two things. And it's how amazing is that just to kind of even say something like that. You
Yeah.
cannot control that. No matter what you prepare or what happens, there's those two things you cannot control. I love that. I love that you said that as so perfect. Let's talk a little bit about you described those first months after birth as the worst of your life, hollow, lost, overwhelmed. Yet today you found yourself again. What helped bring you back? So, what was the lifeline that kept you from slipping away completely?
Um, I think, you know, what really kept me from like slipping completely away was changing my perspective on cesareans and knowing that if I had to have one again, it would be okay. But also deciding that I was going to try for a vaginal birth with my second and doing everything I could to achieve that. And I think for me, like achieving a vaginal birth with my daughter, you know, I immersed myself in VBAC culture, which is vaginal birth after a cesarean. I watched so many birthing videos. I hired a birth doula. I did all the work. Did everything they said, all the exercises and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And achieving that birth with my daughter, having her vaginally, that was a redemptive moment for me. That was like the moment where I'm like, I'm gonna be okay. My body did what I wanted it to, and I got what I wanted. But then, there was also the moment where I was like, my son didn't get this. I didn't get this with my son. But, and that took away from that feeling a bit, you know, but at the end of the day, being able to achieve what I wanted to achieve and to feel like my body didn't give up on me, that was like a defining moment for me. Like that was like having two polar opposite, completely like they couldn't have been so different experiences with my births, with my two children. Like that was knowing that I came back from the very worst and got about as good as it could have possibly been, in my opinion. So,
So you also describe a little bit about not just the birthing, but also your postpartum depression in here as well. So how did
yeah.
that reflect on both sides? Like how was that compared to your birthing, and what experience did you go through that too as well?
With my daughter, you mean?
Yeah.
Like I I just didn't I mean I had some anxiety and stuff after her,
Hmm.
but it was not even anything compared. I think, having a toddler too, it's often a little bit harder to slow down and even think about things. You all of a sudden have two kids, but I was just like, I felt giddy, I remember my doctor coming into the room a few hours after I gave birth, and I was walking around and I was happy. And, I didn't have those feelings. um, I think like I was just the birth high I had
Hmm.
just totally dissolved any chance of that hormonal downfall, that and we all have moments. We have those sleep deprived moments. Of course there was ups and downs, but I mean nowhere near the level of struggle I had with my son.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say it was just, hard moments adapting to having two, having a toddler, having a newborn, not sleeping enough, like the no normal hard postpartum moments. But for the most part, I was surviving and I was happy and I was, any moments like I had that were really sad, it was because I realized my son didn't get that. He
Yeah.
didn't get those moments with me. He didn't get that moment where he was put into my arms right after,
Yeah,
you
because
know?
of the C-section, right?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
well, my C-section was under general too,
Hmm.
so um I didn't get to meet him till
After you were back to normal kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah. And then so your son was actually then with your with his dad, is that correct?
yeah,
For the
with
first.
my husband. And then when I did wake up, it was like I couldn't lift my arm still from the general
Mm,
anesthetic, so I couldn't hold him or anything. And I mean, even like those first 2 days, just from lack of sleep, from the drugs, from everything, it was very foggy, very, you don't remember them,
mm-hmm.
it's not a clear picture of, you know, what what, you envision a birth to be like.
Yeah.
like where my daughter, like, he pushed her up onto me and she was there and, stayed there, and I have that vision in my head, right? I remember those
Mhm. Yeah, I know.
moments
I
with it.
totally get it. There's a lot of moms that are going through a very similar phase as that, especially going through that, situation where they go through the C-section and then instead of having the baby with them, their baby's actually given to the father. Though I did get a cesarean and the baby was put on me for a few
Yeah.
seconds,
Yeah.
just for a few minutes, not really, not as much because they were still closing me up and stuff. But then they immediately took her, cleaned her up, and then gave her to my husband and told my husband to take off his shirt and to do the
Mm.
1-to-1, which
Yeah.
I think personally, I feel like as long as one of the parents are doing that, it's
Hmm.
so beautiful. So if there are other parents out there, other moms out there that are going through a similar phase as you or went through that in that part where, feeling lost and not able to give that same kind of love from that babies when they're just born, what would that message be for them?
I would say, you're not alone.
Mm, I love that.
I mean, we all struggle. Many women have traumatic births. Many births end in emergency C-sections.
Yeah.
Um, many women suffer in silence, I would
Mm-hmm.
say. We
Mm-hmm.
don't want to share these parts of us, or we're afraid to share these parts of us, whether it's fertility journeys, inability to conceive, losses in
Mm-hmm.
pregnancy,
Yeah.
um, you know, knowing that there's something wrong with your baby in pregnancy. Um, um, I think we as women, I think we are afraid to share things like this because maybe people will feel that they're too personal. Um, and or maybe we think it's not appropriate culturally or um, just on any level to share. But
Mm-hmm.
I think no, like knowing you're not alone, no, like for women to know that they can share, that it's okay to share, because that's how we stand united as women. We
Mm-hmm.
share these stories, we have a voice, and we aren't afraid to discuss these things because they do happen
Mm-hmm.
to a lot of women. And when you share those stories, you will learn that because, you know, it statistically, I believe it's 6 women struggle with fertility, 1 in 4 have losses. And, that's the shared about statistics. So, you think if women shared everything, what would the statistics actually be, right?
Yeah.
And these stories are what make us strong as women.
Mm-hmm.
And, uniting together to have a voice is what's really important.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you said that united, knowing that you're not alone, talk about it, raise your voice about it. There are other mothers out there that are going through a similar stage, or find a community too that really understands what you're going through. I think that's really great to hear. I think therapist is another one, maybe just to talk about it. I thank you so much for bringing that up. That really does help a lot of women that are listening to this and that are going through a very similar phase. And I think that's really, really important to understand that some of these things do happen and it's okay to feel what you're feeling, but it's also good to ask for help or to like come out, talk about it, and just feel the connection that you have with the community that can actually help you. So I
Yeah.
love that.
I think most of us or a lot of us feel a lot of fear in pregnancy,
Mm-hmm.
especially if we've experienced a loss or something. And I mean, I did experience the early loss before I was pregnant with my son. And I remember feeling very anxious my entire pregnancy with him. Like I was, you know, especially, in the early days, I was sick. So,
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was pregnant. And then that early, before you can feel the moment when you're growing, but you can't feel kicks yet. I remember having so much fear that something was wrong all the time. And I think those are common fears, and women don't even talk about, like it enough and being worried. Like, I mean, like I said before, it's one of those things you can't control, and it's
Yeah.
it's scary. You're
Yeah.
growing a human being inside you, and you just want them out and, in the world and healthy and perfect. And it doesn't always go that way. And it's
Hmm.
very, it's a level of acceptance in trusting what's meant to be. And it's very difficult.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And this is why I'm so happy that you're talking about it, and to allow others to be able to feel that connection and to be able to feel what they're going through and to really just be. Sometimes we forget that, right? As
Yeah.
moms, to just be. These are moments that you need to sit, really feel define. And these are like just knowing that these traumas that we're going through or these feelings that we're going through does not define us, but to be
Mm,
able to allow us to, feel them, heal them by talking about them, asking for help. And like you said, so beautifully said. I love that. Thank you so
mm,
much. There's one thing that you've said. Number one goal in motherhood is ensuring that your children know they are loved.
mhm.
Love that what you said. That was, what are the small sacred rituals you practice daily that anchor them in that love? And how do those moments shape the legacy you hope to leave them?
We're big on, cuddles and connecting. Every morning I cuddle with them, whether it's in, the chair downstairs, whether it's in their beds, even if it's just a minute or two. Um, you know, when they're waking up and, I cuddle them and I kiss them and I say, I love you. And and they say I love you back. And uh, it's hard being a parent because I think all of us have moments where we're not perfect, where we lose our patience, where we yell, where we say things we don't mean. And I just, at the end of the day, no matter how a day has gone, I always try to make sure that my kids know, like, you are loved. I'm proud of you. You can talk to me. You can tell me anything. You can always tell me what's on your heart and and on your mind. And I'm always going to be there to listen and to help you any way that you need.
Yeah.
And, and teaching them to take that back into the world with kindness and to remember that we don't know why other people are having hard days or what's going on in their life. So it's always important to show compassion and kindness in life.
Yeah. Oh, so beautifully said. Like I love that, showing compassion and love towards all these people that we have, and I love that you said that, you hug them and you kiss them and you tell them you love them and they say they love you back. These are little moments that we forget to give our kids, right? Just staring them into their eyes and just looking at them and saying, I love you, is so powerful on its own. And I think every mom should just take that moment. There's Life goes on. Like you said, life is so fast. It goes by so quickly.
Yeah.
And we don't know how fast they go. As you can see, your kid was just born, and today they're probably 2, 3, 4, or probably
Mm,
married, some of these moms that are listening here. So really take each moment and find that moment that you can just sit down and just give them that hug, and to
yeah.
really just truly look in their eyes and say, I love you. I love you. And I think that's really important, or letting them know that you're going to be there for them no matter what. And it's okay to be who you are. It's okay to be the person you are. Just know that you are loved and you're always going
Mm,
to be loved. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. What I
yeah.
would love for you to do right now is, because your words are so powerful, raw, and healing, would you would you honor us by reading a short excerpt from your story, perhaps a passage that you feel captured, whatever that captures you in your heart of your journey?
Yeah, I just picked a small little part at the end of my story. Uh, Trauma isn't an easy thing to move past, and it's not something we forget about. It's simply something we learn to live with. I have this awareness and consciousness of those around me now, especially mothers. When I see a mom struggling or in need, I always talk to them. And the majority of the time, they honestly just need someone to listen to them, to truly see them, if only for a moment. A moment with another mama who can be like, I get it. I get this shit. I see you.
Oh God, it's like little goosebumps on my, oh my goodness. Yes, yes, I hear you. I see you. Those are words that we forget to tell others that are struggling and going through a very similar stage as what we did. It's like I was there. I understand. I'm here. I see you. Let's connect. Right? So with saying all of that, I would love for you, for those that are listening who feel deeply moved and inspired by your journey, how can they connect with you or reach out to you or continue to follow the work you're doing for mothers in Canada and beyond?
The best way to connect with me is just through my Instagram, Jamie Tarallo. Um, I don't have a huge movement or anything going at this point in time. I have ambitions, but I'm a busy mom and I don't always have lots of time in life. So, but yes, through my Instagram would be the best way right now.
Perfect. And I can put that under the comments as well.
Yeah.
And this way that if anyone does want to connect with you, they can reach out and at least just say, hey, Jamie, I hear you and I would love to talk to you. I'm going through something too. Or just, just maybe just wanting to follow you in your work and what you do. So that would be great. Thank you again, Jamie. Thank you so much for being here. Your story is more than words on a page. It's a living reminder that even our deepest wounds, there is light waiting to rise. So you've shown us that trauma doesn't define us, but instead it can refine us into the woman or mother and leaders we are always meant to be. So thank you for your vulnerability, for your courage, and for the way you are paving the way for mothers to not only survive but to thrive. Your light will continue to ripple into generations. We are so deeply grateful for your gift and your story. So thank you so much for
Yes.
being here.
And I encourage any woman, whoever just wants to connect, to reach out to me because um, it's a passion of mine. I love talking to other moms. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Thank you, Jamie. Jamie's story is phenomenal. She's amazing. I love that she's our author on Be Light to Raise Light. Of course, our book launch is happening very soon, so we're excited to launch that and let everyone know about it soon. Other than that, we cannot wait for you to read her story. If you're listening to this, have a wonderful day. I'll send all the description below for Jamie so you can actually reach her and talk to her if you have any questions. Other than that, have a wonderful week. And we are excited to interview more authors. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you, Nish. Thank you.
Be Light to Raise Light is a sacred and extraordinary platform where mothers are invited to shine brilliantly and share their unique stories with the world. Through books, stages, social gatherings, and more, we elevate these voices to the highest vibration, illuminating not only their personal journeys, but the collective consciousness of the world. Our vision is to create a radiant community of mothers who come together to inspire, empower, and light up the world with their truth and wisdom. Be Light to Raise Light is a space where authenticity thrives, stories resonate, and every woman's light is celebrated. Join us in this beautiful mission by becoming part of our community. Follow us on Facebook at Be Light to Raise Light or on Instagram at Be Light to Raise Light, or connect with us directly by email at inspire@belighttoraiselight.com. Together, let's ignite a movement of light, love, and transformation.